Dude, I tried reading the linear algebra article because I'm like, I'm doing a linear course. I should be able to understand this.
It was clickbait. Like it was linear algebra because like I saw it. I was taking linear algebra when I like first started to learn about it.
Uh-huh.
Like, has the interview started by the way?
Oh, you started taking linear. Wait, sorry, what?
Like, has the interview started? Like, has
Look,
the...
I just said, I just play them. Okay, so they are on record,
Okay.
but I just start when.
Yeah.
Wait, so you did lineal. You learned about all of that stuff whilst you were doing lineal.
Yeah, I think so. Like I took linear algebra in my fourth semester, but like it was with Maya Saran, which
Oh,
was
she-
a great course. Like she is a great professor from her reputation, but it was an online course and it was like the first semester where we had normal physical courses also. So like that felt like naturally it went into the back burner.
Mhm.
So and then like she didn't teach too well either in my opinion. So I never understood anything and I retook it in my sixth semester with Bhatnagar. And then that's when like I was getting like that's when I was learning about like these manifolds and stuff like that also. And that's when I learned about like neural spaces and stuff. I saw it in like a vector space thing, and that helped me understand things better.
How is Bhatnagar's lineal?
Amazing.
Uh-huh.
Very rigorous and like it's a lot of work because every week you have to like give
Assignments and all, yeah.
quiz like for his calc has assignments but his LA did not. It was just like midterm, final, and quizzes, each worth 200 points, and then you get grade out of 600 at
Right.
the end. And his quizzes, because it was every week, you're forced to like every Monday. For me, I was forced to like take Saturday and Sunday off just to study linear algebra. So like that really made me, I think, keep up with the course
So-
content and stuff like
I mean, I know a lot of my friends who took Bhatnagar's calc.
Yeah.
All of them,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just calculus.
that. Exactly.
And I think as a STEM major, I really regret not taking Bhatnagar's lineal or calc. I fucked up bad, isme.
You're in your first year.
I know.
Yeah, so you have time. Like I took in my third year, bro. It's okay.
Wait, third year Bhatnagar?
Yeah, I said it's my sixth semester, right? Like
Oh,
I,
you read. Oh, you said
Yeah.
you read. Okay. God
Yeah.
damn.
so like it's really fun. I didn't even take calc until my sixth semester. I just thought like calc was not compulsory for us. I think it's compulsory now. I'm not sure.
It is now.
Yeah, the calc enabler. So like I was like, oh, I just want to get rid of my FC. So I was allotted or assigned calc in my first semester, but I like dropped it without going to one lecture. Just I don't care about math. And then I realized how important math is. And then so I took LA and calc again. I mean, yeah, LA again and calc for the
Who'd you
first time.
take calc with?
Guhan Venkat. He's on leave this year, I think.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's very unfortunate. He's a really nice guy, very sweet, and like it's very fun. He's a very fashionable dresser. He wears like Armani Exchange and stuff and comes to class. It's quite fun.
God damn.
It's
Can you
quite
afford that as a researcher?
Hmm.
Dekhte hain bhai. So a lot of my friends who took calc though,
Hmm.
like I feel like if you're majoring in physics, I'd say physics, math, CS, even English.
English.
Yeah. From
People-
what I've seen,
Hmm.
look, it's a different level of rigorous than you can't compare it to math, right?
Yeah.
Or CS, but it is hard.
Hmm.
English is from what I've seen.
Right.
These seem to be the hardest majors at Ashoka.
Hmm.
And pertaining to STEM, I feel like there's always one shocker course in your entire
Hmm.
physics or math or CS journey where you're like, shit, this is way too damn hard.
Hmm.
And then professors are like, yes, this is what real CS is like, or real math is like.
Yeah. Okay.
And once you take that course and you do decent in it, not A or BB, and you're putting in a lot of effort, I think that prepares you really well for your other courses. Calc with Bhatnagar seems to be one of those courses. And I missed out on that opportunity.
You still you can literally take it next semester.
No, so
Don't say it like you've completely like.
I want to.
You will, and like find that you're taking a year late.
It's
not, you're not at any disadvantage for doing that.
Well,
but as a math major, maybe that might like limit your like courses that you can take if that was a prereq or something. I'm not sure.
So I did take calc with Preetham Ghosh.
Okay.
It was not a good course at all.
Yeah, Preetham Ghosh is interesting.
At least for calc. Yeah. What do you had?
I took so I realized only in my third year that math's important. So in my fifth semester I took calc, and with Preetham Ghosh, hated it and dropped out in my fourth week because like it was just like really boring. And I realized that fifth semester was like the hardest CS semester for me.
What was your courses?
We had PLDI, networks,
ELDI,
programming
front-end
language
design.
design, networks, computer networks, intro to machine learning, and those are the three CS courses. And then I also had calc and EVS, my EVS FC, my final FC that I finished.
Uh-huh.
And that was the worst semester because that's the first semester where I had an insane amount of workload just from CS. And like it was courses that you've never done before. Like it's like subject matter that you've never touched before.
Right.
Except machine learning, I guess. But especially PLDI and networks really messed our entire batch up. So like that made me drop calc. Like the class wasn't too captivating either. That like I was like skipping it because like I didn't care about it because that was so low on my priority list. But like a course like Gohan Venkat's calc or like LA with Bhatnagar, they would either captivate you or they would be a little like simple enough that you can
Just get by.
yeah, get by without attending, which was the case with calc for me. But Professor Venkat was great. It's just that I still kind of prioritized that course the lowest later on. But LA with Bhatnagar, like if you miss, you're like screwed. Even if you miss a single lecture, so like you need to be writing like 15 pages of notes. Maybe an exaggeration, but like I wrote on my iPad, so and I write big, so like it was like 15 pages. But yeah, like he goes really fast, so if you miss, you're screwed. So I couldn't drop that, and like I didn't want to. It was really fun.
So he hasn't renewed his contract yet for next semester. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. He's visiting.
Yeah, exactly. So because he hasn't done that, he can't sign up. He can't give courses yet.
Yeah.
So calculus is being offered by Saurabh Ghosh. That seems to be what math majors are saying.
Okay.
Khair dekhte hain. I still have 3 months summer vacation and all.
Saurabh Ghosh is also a great professor. I'm sure you've heard all the fanboys, fangirls.
Yeah, so I've visited Linal this semester. Yeah. It is a bit too easy. Even though I'm not going to get an A, but it is easy, I can tell. I wanted Bhatnagar's course, if I can still get it, because of its hardness.
I wouldn't call Bhatnagar's course like necessarily like conceptually too difficult either. His quizzes were fairly easy. His midterm was fine too. Like he had 2 midterms, 100 points each. But then the final was like something out of like he would warn us about it. He would say that, you know, like when we did it with like previous classes, like people would spend hours on it, like easily like 15-20 hours, a take home exam that he gives like 2 days for. And then like even if you get above 100 out of 200, you're insane. I think that was like what we stepped into, but then he made it a little easier, I guess, because like the class was struggling a little bit based on other things. But it's just that beyond the conceptual rigor, it's more about just like always having coursework and like always being asked for a lot from the course. That makes it a difficult course. Otherwise, especially if I did in my first or second year, I think I would find it fine. Like because I had to balance that with like, you know, advanced machine learning and theory of computation, stuff like that. I found it like very demanding.
Right.
Otherwise, I think it would have been all right. I should have taken it in my first or second year. But I think like the biggest regret or like the advice I would give to my younger self is to take more math courses, to take more physics courses.
Oh, even physics.
Physics. I think the physics majors at Ashoka are the smartest major. Like they do math better than math majors. They do CS better than CS majors. So what's the point of like doing CS when like someone can code and do really good physics better than us?
I mean, that's kind of it's. So Edgar Dijkstra, he has this quote that computer science is as much about computers as astronomy is as about telescopes.
Right. Yeah.
So for those thinking that, well, I enjoy programming.
Yeah.
I enjoy coding.
Yeah,
let me major in CS.
That's not the right way to go about it. I agree. Yeah. But like many people do that though. Like a shit ton of people do that. And like I think I consider doing that too. But like I think the Bayant's Foundation of Computer.
Oh, he took ICP.
FCP, so which was like an FC.
Oh, right.
But it was under QRMT. It's not offered anymore. So like I took FCP with him and then ICP the very next semester. I came into Ashoka as a biology major with like interest in CS. I didn't do CS in my 11th and 12th, but like my mom did CS. So like I was like, yeah, I don't want to do the same thing as you. But I went into it. I took FCP and that converted me into like, because like the way like it was not about like the programming was fine, but like the elegance in which you like develop algorithms was very interesting. And like it was like a brain teaser almost. So like it felt very satisfying to solve problems. And like learning to code was like came along with it. Like you can like search that up on Google, whatever, like I need to do this, and now you have ChatGPT, which is better. Like I'm still a horrible coder, I guess, because like I I have really bad memory, and like
Mhm.
I don't really remember the library calls, the function calls, and stuff like that. So like I always need like something like ChatGPT or Google to help me. Like I know what to do in my head, but like to convert it into like code, I still use help. Like even my thesis yesterday, like I was using Copilot more
Uh-huh.
like to like run my thing, and I would just give it instructions on like what I need to do now. Uh, so like FCP really like built the intuition of like CS is not just about writing code, which is what I was like, okay, maybe it's too boring of a subject, but it's about like solving problems in like a neat way. And that like sure that's not all of CS, there's a lot of theory and like other conceptual stuff in it also, but like I think the problem solving part, which is kind of global across CS, you're solving problems. I mean, most STEM majors you are, but
Uh-huh.
like in CS you're kind of solving problems and trying to find efficient ways to do it.
These are usually applied problems.
Yeah, applied problems, even if it's theoretical, I don't care, but like
Mm-hmm.
it seemed so cool that like I could just like write down like a tiny loop on my piece of paper and then convert it to code, and that does it really fast, and that got me 100 on my assignment. So like stuff like that would like that's made me convert to a CS major.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to do like a bio double major, but then I realized that um that's too like that's dreaming too big. And then I switched to a bio minor, and then the bio minor was like, I have to take like useless courses, and I knew which bio courses I liked, and I want to do that, but those wouldn't give me a minor.
Yeah.
So I just decided I would just do the courses I like. I don't want to do useless chemical based of life and core requirements that you need to do like a minor for. So I just ended up taking like random bio
Mm-hmm.
courses and psych courses and things like that.
So you're also into neuroscience,
Yeah,
or your description said that you just lie in the intersection of computation
yeah,
and understand the brain in terms of computation.
right.
My brain का computation model banana as far
Hmm.
as I recall.
Hmm.
I was talking to Kushal, so
Right.
2 episodes
Yeah.
before this, and one of the things he mentioned was a mistake he sees a lot of people making,
Hmm.
especially in STEM people,
Yeah.
is over specializing too soon.
Agreed. Yeah.
So when he went to intern,
Hmm.
LigoSurf,
Hmm.
he went for his main field was instrumentation,
Hmm.
and he met a lot of CS majors
Yeah.
from IT Delhi, IT Bombay, and they were interning. Broadly, they were interning under the topic of ML, machine
Hmm.
learning. Yeah, machine learning.
Hmm.
And by the end of the 10-week program,
Hmm.
a lot of them were like, this is not what I want to do.
Agree. Yeah.
And this is just not as fun as I thought it would be.
Hmm.
This is not as intellectually stimulating either. This is really boring stuff.
Yeah.
Really soul deadening stuff.
Hmm.
And so, just out of curiosity,
Hmm.
did you make the same mistake, or have you made similar mistakes?
I don't know if I made the mistake yet. Like
Um,
I still I'm yet to find out. I probably have, but let's see. But I agree with Kushal's like statement, because taking a course, like all we do in Ashoka and all we do in college is just take courses, and then that courses in like doing coursework in that course influences our decision on what, okay, do I like this course, do I like this area, I like this area, do I want to pursue it later on. And then like I go into my fourth year saying that, okay, this is the kind of area I like, now let me pursue it. And that's also other ways, like you can just search up like possible avenues of research after a CS degree and things like that and find out too. But then you kind of make a lot of your assumptions based on your coursework, and
mhm.
I just think that coursework is really unrealistic about the actual field, even if whether it's research or like industry, whether it's like tech jobs or like I'm talking from a CS perspective, of course. Or
Hold on. So even if it's a high level coursework, a high level course,
yeah,
would it still be extremely inaccurate? Would it be extremely baseless to, make claims about this research field is like this based off of your high level course?
I think even if it's like an advanced elective, let's say like a 4,000 level course,
Yeah.
like in computer vision or something like that, the way I've done, like I've been part of a few computer vision projects, like it's very different to like the theory you learn, because in an elective you kind of learn like the algorithms from the basics, like the history of algorithms. So computer vision, you start
Uh-huh.
off with like the primitive computer vision techniques like sift feature. Actually, before that, it's geometric computer vision, and then you move on to sift features and like a feature matching, and then you go to deep learning and then the feature extraction and stuff like that. So like sure, like you learn a lot and then everything seems super like intellectually stimulating, like okay, I'm very satisfied, this seems all very interesting, but then at the end of the day you're probably only going to apply like the deep learning stuff to the course. So, and like I'm pretty sure most high level electives at least touch on like what is done in industry today or what is done in research today, like as a whole, or like as like right now, but like it definitely does not give like a full on like snapshot of what is happening at industry. Like it'll touch upon it, but like there is a lot more left to like understand for yourself when you get it. And the best way to like realize whether or not you like the field that you claim to like properly is like getting some exposure, like you said, the internship, or like even if it's like a 1 year, like that's what I plan on doing. Like I plan on using the next year as to do some research before I commit and apply to a PhD in that field. Because like what if I one hate research, or what if two I hate the field that I want to work in? So like I'm worried about that too, and I think it's a solid concern. And one of the pieces of advice that professor gave me was that don't silo yourself in. I think it was Professor Banerjee. I'm
Like into one
forgetting.
field.
Into one field, and that too, like because like research thrives. I mean, when you're doing research, you're focusing on one subfield, right? Like in a field, a specific way of looking at that field.
Right.
And when you look at that, and if you like really hug that tight and hug that close, and then for the rest of your like early career, something happens in that field that like makes it obsolete or something, you're screwed. And like you've luckily you might have learned enough in your undergraduate and your PhD that allows you to transfer skills, but like it would be a lot less painful if you kind of branch out, or like if you have like a wide toolkit available to you, like even when you're like in terms of interest as well as proficiency, so that you can like in parallel approach a lot of different fields at the same, or like subfields in an area. Even it's like it's very hard for an entire field to vanish, so like but it's not too difficult for a subfield to vanish. So yeah, that I think that's something I'm worried about, and so that's something that I've actively been trying to also like maintain. I also want to like be like learned in like other areas of machine learning and deep learning as well. I don't want to just go into like CNN and computer vision research, which like maybe some like huge chat GPT like a better chat GPT. I hate large language models, but then like a real like big supermodel comes and then just like takes over computer vision, and I'm screwed, right? So that's also why like working at the intersection of fields, I think, is like a shortcut, because you will learn two fields quite well unless you take the lazy route of just like doing surface level. But if you properly do the intersection thing right, you will have like two good fields to kind of like look at and like fall back into in case of some problem, or where like your work may be obsolete, or like your work may just be wrong. You may just be like approaching a theory that just gets proved wrong, you're screwed, right? So things like that, I think, are fail safes that I'm considering. But again, I'm pretty sure that like I have made the mistake of like going too much into this
One
like
field.
niche gap or niche intersection of these two things, and I'm going to try like in
The
the next
intersection being.
neuroscience and deep learning.
Uh-huh.
So that's the intersection that I've like labeled myself, or like put myself under, or like in that bucket for the last year, especially when I was like applying to grad school and stuff like that. So like I want to make sure that the next year is quite like I try and pick up some other diverse interests within like or at least in adjacent fields as well.
It's kind of funny how, so you've probably heard of Bertrand Russell
Yeah.
and Alfred North Whitehead.
Hmm.
They wrote a book called Principia Mathematica,
Right.
20th century. So you heard of it, right? They're essentially, long story short, it didn't give birth, but that's like the main text. Like that's the not Bible. It's a 600-page book. A handful of people in history have read it and actually understood it.
Right.
Russell himself said the only people that I think have understood the book are Gödel and von Neumann. Russell was a philosopher, logician, mathematician.
Yeah.
They spent like a decade on just this book, and by the end of it, they realized that the point was to find a prove that all of mathematics can be derived from this set of axioms,
Right.
and we can have a consistent and complete system.
Yeah.
Gödel came in, showed that this is not possible.
Incompleteness theorem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one would think that those decades have been wasted.
Yeah.
And I kind of think of the same way. What if I learn programming right now, but then GPT is picking up?
Yeah.
AI is coming up. But then if you think about it this way, that going at the gym, building your muscles, getting strong. Let's say I can't go to the gym anymore, and to make a living, I need to start playing a sport. person who goes to the gym
Hmm.
is going to be in a way better position to play some sport than a person who does not.
Right.
So even if your field becomes obsolete
Yeah.
or gets taken over by some other field,
Hmm.
and you've already built your mental machinery enough
Agreed.
to jump between fields.
Yeah.
You've probably noticed how experts on a certain discipline pick up other fields way more quickly than novices who have more time.
Yeah.
Which is pretty surprising. You see, physicists can pick up things really quickly,
Yeah.
at least from my experience.
Yeah, that's why I call them the best, best decision you can make in an undergraduate degree. If you're interested in STEM, major in physics. Like I should have done that.
We should have done that
Yeah.
in hindsight.
I think math or physics.
Uh-huh.
In hindsight.
Wait, so why not? Wait, when this realization hit you? Was it like a slow burn?
This year, 4th year. Math, I think it started hitting me in my 3rd year, but I was like doing LA and like really loving it. But then physics, I understood now because this studying complex systems and things like that, or like you study that very early on. Like I'm not sure about how early on in your curriculum, but you study that even in your undergraduate degree in physics. But then this like things like that get really useful when you're studying like proper like neuronal systems. Like in fact a biology major is less likely to do well in like a theoretical neuroscience like research degree or like a master's degree or something like that compared to a physics major.
No.
Yeah, even if it's just like a normal neuroscience major in undergraduate, I think a physics major would do better because a lot of theory that's like coming out in the recent few years, it's very physics, complex systems, dynamics based, which I think a physics person would just do better at.
Do you say that with the hindsight that I should have done physics because I feel like that field was more interesting to me, or because I should have done physics because what I'm doing right now uses a lot of physics? There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference because like I took like a physics course and I've taken computational physics in my last semester just as like fun, my ASP or whatever. So I didn't want to take all CS courses, and that made me realize that physics is still like nice. It's interesting, and then a lot of the physics courses at Ashoka are very computational in nature. That's why I think like the physics majors in my batch can code better than the CS majors in my batch. So like I don't think that I would have still like I would still be solving computational problems. I would have liked it, but I would also be learning a lot of like pure mathematical computation stuff that would have helped me understand systems better, and that would be applied to like areas of interest like that I currently possess, like like theoretical neuroscience, understanding how the brain works and things like that. Like you are much like are trying to understand it from like the biological single neuron perspective. It's not going anywhere. Like that's been the I mean, I'm sure it's like moving, but it's moving very slow. But then in recent times, it's been more like you're looking at it at the population level. You have like a billion neurons, and then the activity that the neurons kind of exhibit, you kind of examine that from like a complex systems perspective or like a computational dynamics perspective that holds more value right now, and that's I think people are using that a lot more to kind of progress the field compared to like the biological insights that people give.
So it's more statistical, I'd say.
Yeah.
Rather than more deterministic as it used to be, perhaps.
Yeah,
That's because I didn't understand half the terms you used.
Okay.
It's the first year. A lot of the physics majors that I meet, so physics is a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
So Kushal was talking again, Kushal. He talked about one of his semesters when he got a lot of FOMO because he was spending his weekends just working, grinding physics coursework, while he saw his economics friends go partying and all. No shade on economics, but physics requires a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, if you could go back 4 years ago, would you pick physics?
I think I would at least have my mind more open to physics.
I know one of my friends he was talking to you.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah. I was coming out of lip cap and then I saw you guys and I'm like, wait, how do you know Niranjan?
It was an IEEE, so
yeah.
That's crazy that you guys know each other. I'm like, it's a very similar conversation we had, at least the one we're having right now. I'm not sure if I would like I can't commit to like my first year self taking physics. In 11th and 12th, I didn't like physics too much. Like,
that's the only one you got an A and not A star, and 2 others.
Thank you, but Yeah, well, like I didn't like it too much, as in like it. I still don't understand how electricity works. That's like one of my like I, people have tried explaining it to me. Like I've read like books about it, but like I still don't really like full like I like on paper I get it, but like stuff like that. I think physics is by nature more difficult. It's for like a more imaginative person, at least from more imaginative than me. I think
Mm-hmm.
for it to like be a very like for someone to be intimate with that subject, or maybe I could develop that too, but in my first year I think I would just be more open to like taking physics and math courses. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't like necessarily jump on and say do a physics major if I catch a hold of my first year 18-year-old self, but like I would just say do some physics courses or like try and do a math course early on, like don't drop calc in your first sem.
Right.
Yeah, things like that.
I have a question. So a lot of the CS folk that I see or
Yeah.
economics folk that I see, so conventionally, or actually, when I say the word humanities majors, what pops up in your head? Or liberal arts majors? Like what majors would you say classify as liberal arts?
Liberal arts, I don't know, there's this distinction, right? Like you can call Ashoka University currently as a liberal arts major. I think um I still like the term liberal arts and science because only because like I think I remember when I was telling my like family and friends, oh yeah, Ashoka is like I'm going to do CS at Ashoka, and people were like, isn't that like an econ university? And then like I
It's
would be
back in
like,
2020.
yeah. So like it's like it's done like getting the VC, getting Professor Shomak as a VC and things like have done a lot for Ashoka in terms of its reputation as STEM university, and I like to think that IEEE has also helped, but because that's one of the goals that we have with IEEE. But yeah, so that was like a difficult like label to kind of navigate, and I have to be can talk to them about
Like justify?
the fact that I was doing CS at Ashoka,
Yeah.
and they're like, isn't that like a liberal arts, economics, so
University,
like
yeah.
yeah, history and things like that you study there. And liberal arts, I think just liberal arts, I'd still like just even though like the proper etymology of liberal arts, I think covers like all the all the subjects, all the
Mm-hmm.
disciplines known to like I don't know academia, and then it's the ability to be flexible and free around your studies in all these fields. However, in like the more close-minded sense of the word, liberal arts still strikes as a humanities and social science thing, so that the necessary addition of or the appendage of and sciences makes Ashoka like more openly a science STEM university also.
Right.
So like there are those two trains of thought or schools of thought, sorry, and I think I like because of my personal experiences with like having to convince relatives and stuff that we do science and science also at Ashoka, it's liberal arts and sciences. So just because of that, I think I when I say liberal arts, I probably think of like econ, history,
Mm-hmm.
and like English and things like that. But then liberal arts and science takes in
Right,
STEM
right.
STEM subjects too. But however, I don't like technically. I know that everything is considered liberal arts
Yeah,
from like the Greek definition or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah,
So the Greek definition you mentioned, it includes philosophy,
yeah,
physics, math, perhaps even chemistry, I think. Under the definition of liberal arts,
yeah.
it's not just, philosophy,
Agreed.
history and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed is liberal arts majors compared to the more practical folk,
Hmm.
ecofin, or what's the other practical? CS.
Hmm.
They seem to be very two different kind of people.
Like as in
In
the
my
practical versus liberal arts.
Yeah, the people who major in ecofin and CS, and
Versus.
the people who major in physics
Hmm.
or history perhaps.
Right.
So I was talking to, you probably know Rushal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Rushal and he's like, भाई तेरा तो अच्छा you're majoring in physics. यहाँ पर CS में there's no community. There aren't people who are excited about projects. There aren't people who are excited about the work they're doing.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, we do find those. No one majors in physics or math because they want to make money.
Yeah.
You don't do sociology because
Yeah.
you want to become rich. You do it because you're really in love with the field. You can't imagine yourself not doing it.
Hmm.
That's why you do. And so when you do decide to major in these fields, the people you interact with seem to be much more invested in their subjects, not because of the potential paycheck they might receive, but because of, just simulating their curiosity. Professor Gil Harris had like a informal coffee with Harris session like 25th of March.
Yeah.
And he talked about how Ashoka seems to be becoming more. He hinted at this, right? We didn't discuss it in length. He just briefly touched upon it. That Ashoka seems to be becoming more of a. There seems to be more transactional elements coming into the Ashokan education.
Okay.
So, and you do see that, right?
Did they explicate what he meant by transactional limits?
So I'm obviously paraphrasing, those weren't
Okay.
his exact words. But the whole point of Shoka was not to, so they actually didn't even want letter grading.
Hmm.
They try to get rid of it, but the UGC is like, that's way too extreme. You need to give students grades.
Hmm.
And the whole point of liberal arts education was to expose yourself to different things. But
Yeah.
when I see my friends talking about, well, 4 years ke baad, oh, bhai, this look good. This is an extreme example. But one of my friends like, yeah, but I want to get into AIC because that will look good on my resume.
Yeah.
I feel like if you wanted that, then Ashoka is probably not the best place for that. Because there's so much more richness that you can extract out of this place.
Yeah.
So in your experience, I'm sure when you wanted to take, I don't know, maybe a physics course or math course, you're like, I should probably focus on my thesis. I should probably focus on my CS courses because grad school aa raha hai, and I should focus on my grad school application. So just that pressure, did you, ऐसा था pressure तुझको इतना?
Not really. I think what drew me to Ashoka, like, and I did apply to a bunch of places in the US too, but like due to the COVID pandemic and stuff, I ended up choosing like Ashoka for financial reasons as well. Because like I didn't want to do like pay like 50 lakhs and have like 1 year, maybe more than 1 year, because like it was very uncertain times online. So yeah, I chose Ashoka because like it shared that like liberal DNA like with the US universities, the Ivies and things like that. You can like design your own curriculum, you can take whatever courses you want and then like declare a major a bit late into it, and that is something that I always like liked about Ashoka, and that's something that I knew I would want to do at Ashoka. That's why I came in a little not too sure about biology, but like I was leaning to most towards biology, but also like I had these interests in computer science, a bit in economics also. But then I kind of dropped econ completely because of I saw bio and CS like really doing it for me. But I agree, like there is definitely a pressure to not kind of give in to that liberal mindset, like liberal in the Ashoka sense, the Ashoka curriculum sense, where like you can take whatever courses that seem really cool on the course catalog and that really seems like has potential to stroke your intellectual curiosity and things like that. And like especially in my third year I think I remember taking a few courses but then having to drop, like even calc, I guess you can count as one of them. Even like a few philosophy courses, I wanted to take philosophy of science and stuff, but then I had to drop it.
With what was his name?
I forgot
Yeah, yeah.
the name, but like I remember
Rosenhagen.
yeah, in the third year it was Rosenhagen, but in my second year I want to take it with this guy called Scott Dixon. He left. I took mind behavior with him, which was really good. I think that might be the course that made me really interested in like how humans and animals think. Yeah, anyway, so like I had all these courses that I wanted to take, but then there was this thing, the CS curriculum like that semester was brutal, and especially from third year onwards, like it got really bad. And fourth year there's also like capstone, there's grad schools, there's like your entire future is like right there, and like few 10 11 10 months that you have to kind of like figure out what you want to do, so you kind of like take that also easy, and you don't take that risk of taking like other courses also. But that is not to say, I think that is me being cautious. I know of people who have taken courses outside also and not kind of succumb to that pressure, and like rightfully so. I think like that I respect that a lot. I think that is something that I would have liked to have done too, and I might have like overjudged the amount of work I had this semester or like even the third year with that. But yeah, that's a cautious thing, but that's definitely that pressure, and especially in your first and second year, the foundation courses itself give you that like I was really happy taking foundation courses. Like there are many people, especially in CS, who are like just annoyed by having to like I just need to get it done with, etc. I think I was of that opinion my first year, hence why I dropped calc, saying that okay, I have a lot of FCs, I need to like make sure that I churn them out so that I'm not stuck with them in my third year onwards. But then like I ended up really like liking some of them, like mind behavior that I did not expect to like it was a philosophy course that semester, and it was great. I think that like I said opened up my interest in the brain and the mind and things like that. And then even literature FCs, just like some stuff that I'm really bad at too, like knowing how like other like smart people like think, like the professors who are like insanely skilled in terms of interpreting text or like critically thinking, and even the critical writing courses, by the way, like they all like teach you so much just by like just like sitting and watching how they like are, or like
Right.
how they like interact with their course material, like the professors mainly, even the students. You can clearly see like some students may not even be doing the major that the FC is under, but they like have a knack have like a knack for it,
Are you
which
thinking of any particular experience when you say that?
I think
Because this is all very specific stuff.
yeah, I think like I was thinking of like literature in the world. I had it with Professor Shoikat, and then there was like the way he would like read the text itself. Like he
Huh.
would read it and then give his own interpretation of it, which would be like like I would just read very literally, and then he would like go into like 7 8 layers of meaning, which I would just like be like sitting on my chair because that was also an online course in my room, and just be like, wow, okay, crazy, and then I would be just be eating something, and then it was like an entertaining experience also because like I was like constantly like stimulated by it. Like I was very entertained and satisfied in terms of that intellectual curiosity aspect.
Mm.
And I wasn't too bored of like, like even though like I wasn't too intrigued by the material subject material itself, like I probably wouldn't take like multiple courses in it. I was like quite happy with like seeing how like people like leaders in that kind of field like behave in front of their course material, which is very different to how like professors in CS kind of act, because professors in CS are a bit more like, here's your work, this is how it's done, now like do an assignment on it, and it's very like but like in English and stuff, the professors like just like talk to you and like make some jokes and like laugh at it and like talk about their experiences, how their experiences shape their thoughts on this and things like that, which and like that like being I don't know turned against you, or like when you have to when it's your turn to say similar things in the discussion session. I think all of that was like an insane experience where which I would not have had if I chose like a school like IIT or like other some like proper traditional CS school. Not that I applied to like IITs, but
Mhm.
and I'm grateful for it. There's definitely that pressure where you kind of have to like after you have Cs, like you don't have that like like luxury of taking it anymore without having potential risk to it, because FCs are mandatory. But then from your third year onwards, you kind of start thinking, okay, there's an opportunity cost of like taking a course in philosophy now when I should be like focusing on my CS grades and making sure my GPA is fine so that my grad school applications are fine, or that my tech interviews go well, or whatever the thing is.
Right. So you mentioned about your GPA is what, like 3.8 something,
Yeah. Or like, yeah,
8886 or something.
my undergraduate, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so this is just your last year. This is not including this year because
Yeah,
you're
this year it's a
taking
bit
thesis.
different. Yeah, because like ASP, like GPA gets calculated towards the end because your thesis is like 8 credits and stuff like that. But like, yeah, because we have a 3+1 degree, like your 3 year degree is like done. So you get a GPA for that. And then fourth year GPA is different.
Right. And your major GPA. How many CS courses did you take, by the way?
I have no memory.
Like 15? 17?
I would say like, yeah, 15 to 18.
Yeah, and your GPA is like 3.88 now. That is pretty insane.
I would say that the CS department, when I came in my first like second year onwards, I guess, was it was quite easy to like grade well. Like it's a inflated GPA, that inflated grades that the CS department had until Professor Suban came, and then he saw that okay, like our batch had like really good grades. Like even I don't think I would even get close to a 3.8 in the current like CS ecosystem or that Suban has kind of developed, which is fair. I like because you kind of take courses for granted. Like I remember I learned nothing in my operating systems course and I got an A. Like it was that easy. Like I don't remember even like I just remember like printing out the slides for my final, because like it was like an open book thing. I printed out the slides, just gave the final. It's more about like taking exams. Like if you know how to take exams, you like do well. Like it was that easy. Like and I would like the Ashoka CS curriculum was quite bad until like recently with like all the new professors coming in. Now it's like an all-star department that we have, and like the courses are getting really good and then really hard, and the grading is also like quite set in stone, as in like only like a few people get an A. It's not really like too freely relative either. So like I would say that my GPA I wouldn't like even I'm not too like proud of it, as in like I don't show it off because I don't think I deserve it. Like I know because I've TA'd for the courses where like the new rules and stuff have been established. I know that the students are like learning a lot more this time, and I'm lucky to learn like some of it too because I'm TAing for it. But otherwise, I know I would have been at a disadvantage if I'd just taken the courses there.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand the. So people tell you, ki, oh, this thing you did, that's great.
Yeah.
And then, so for me, that applies to, I don't know. I wrote a textbook for chemistry
Okay.
during my gap year.
Oh wow.
and a lot of people think of that as a really big feat.
Hmm.
But I know that it was not that challenging to me.
Yeah.
So it's a bit strange receiving appreciation or
Hmm.
praise,
Yeah.
and you're like, but it wasn't that hard, so I don't want to
Hmm.
take credit
Yeah.
to be that great. But
Yeah. I guess it's a similar thing, but like I'm not sure how hard your chemistry thing was. Maybe you're underplaying it. Maybe you actually did like go through a lot to like get that out. So
I did do the work, but it
yeah.
wasn't as intellectually challenging.
Hmm.
It's not the most intellectually hard thing I've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Fair
I can
enough.
tell you that
Hmm.
much.
Okay.
What was harder for me was, I don't know, learning logic, mathematical logic.
Right.
That was way harder.
Hmm.
Or getting my hands dirty with a bit of real analysis from
Hmm.
Tao's book.
Right. Okay. Turns down.
Yeah, so his
Hmm.
book has a different. He starts from the integers
Okay.
instead of assuming the properties of the real numbers.
Hmm.
So that's a bit harder than your conventional approach to real analysis,
Right.
which is you assume real muscle properties. Here,
Hmm.
so I feel like a lot of students worry about their GPA a bit
Hmm.
too much, even especially when it comes to grad school.
Hmm.
I think they forget that GPA is just one number. I'm not saying that number that can be 2.1,
Yeah.
but say if you're in the 3.3 to 3.8 range, GPA is not going to make as big of a dent in your application as your research experience
Hmm.
or as your
Statement of
LORs
purpose.
or SOP are going to make.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of students lose valuable time worrying about that one grade from A to A minus to A.
Yeah.
It's just too much about that.
Yeah.
So you've applied to grad schools.
Hmm.
Well, इसलिए decide करा कहाँ जा रहा है?
No, I just decided because like I should have applied to more PhDs. I ended up applying to masters, like more because I ended up doubting myself. But like I don't know, I tend to do, I guess, right before like the application cycle. So I ended up submitting like my PhD style application everywhere to masters,
Right.
and like some of them worked out, most of them didn't. And like I'm happy they didn't work out because like most of them I applied to like really thinking about it right now. I probably would, knowing that I want to end in a PhD, I would have really like wasted my time there because masters is like a 2 years concentrated curriculum, maybe sometimes shorter than that too, sometimes like a year of like concentrated coursework where you have no time to like build relations with your advisors and like do research. So
So it's
like
like coursework on steroids,
yeah,
undergraduate
exactly.
course
Yeah,
on
yeah,
steroids.
yeah. Like you get to like specialize in a few places, and maybe you might even get to do a thesis if like the master's degree will allow it. But I think right now, knowing that I want to do a PhD for sure, at least at this point, I would benefit from like doing like just a year of concentrated research in like a structured pre-doctoral program, which is what I've decided to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, but like I did go through the entire grad school process, and I feel like I did put together a decent application, but like that killed me. Uh, like I the entirety of November, I don't remember sleeping earlier than 8 a.m. I think in the morning, which was crazy. But like that's because I had a lot of other commitments that I could not like just shrug off.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but like I should have taken last semester easier too, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, I did apply to grad school.
So how did you decide between? So a lot of students have this dilemma, right? Industry करूँ या should I just
Yeah.
study further?
Hmm.
And a lot of it's very hard to make that decision, especially when you don't have internship or research
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, a course is not an accurate description of what research in that field
Exactly.
looks like.
Yeah.
Most of the times, the skills you have to learn
Hmm.
to do research in that field can be extremely mundane.
Yeah.
So yeah, so how did you decide between industry and research? I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
you don't have 100% certainty even now.
Yeah. But I think early on itself, my parents are both work in corporate, and I've seen them like work extremely hard. And
What
like
exactly do they do if you don't mind?
my dad works in Ford, the car company, and like he's been in there for 25 years. So like Ford has treated him really well. Like it's one of the best companies that takes care of its employees. And like we like lived in a few different places. They take care of like education and like things like that. It's amazing. And like there's no complaints about like people like my parents losing jobs or anything, but it's more about like my mom works in Henkel. It's like German like they do everything, but like I think what they really do like adhesives. But then she works in like she works in data science right now,
Okay.
and like digitalizing their factories and plants and things like that. So both of them like have not had like problems in terms of losing jobs or anything. So I was never worried in that sense, but I always saw them like working extremely hard, like even on the weekends that like they would be working sometimes to like midnight and stuff. And then it's not like they never spent time with me or my sister or anything like that. Like they always did make time for it, but you could see that like my dad would only get like 5 6 hours of sleep every day, and like trying to balance like the family time with work time and stuff. And like I do not want that life. I am very lazy. I like like sleeping for like 9 hours a day. I like having other things to do. I like spending time with my friends and things like that too. So I knew that like I was a little hesitant about corporate life to begin with from like a young age. And coming to Ashoka, I realized that okay, like throughout in my second year, I realized that the I wanted to combine my two interests in biology and CS was through
Mm.
AI and like natural intelligence versus human artificial intelligence, and see if like there you can influence artificial intelligence with concepts or like knowledge about natural biological intelligence. So that's the type of work I want to do. I want to like neuro inspired AI. So like I realized like that is the intersection I want to like work in, because that marries my two interests together, and I'm happy. And like that's still something that I've stuck by for a while. But I remember like, in my second year when I was looking at like, okay, now I need to start thinking about my future, because like I need to apply to internships and or research projects accordingly. I need to choose between academia or like tech jobs and stuff like that. And like, I remember like seeing like really places that I wanted to work in, like open AI, or like DeepMind. I mean, DeepMind was more focused on like
Mhm.
biologically inspired AI before Google took over. Like they all had like entry requirements of a PhD. So like, which really surprised me. I was like, okay, even though they may not be research jobs, they wanted you to have a significant amount of research experience and like the rigorous training that a PhD puts you through. So like I figured that it's more about like the symbolic nature of having done a PhD, which means that you have really stuck with like a project of your own for like 4 or 5 years, and like rigorous coursework, and like you've taught too and during a PhD, and you've managed to do all of that for 5 years. So like we want someone like that to be take over this job. That's what I figured what they were saying. But like, so I think I tuned myself that I need a PhD to even make it in like the fields that I want to make.
Mhm.
So I had kind of started like applying to research projects, talking to Professor Debayan and like Professor Banerjee about research opportunities and things like that. So that is when like I made the switch to, or like made the decision to pursue academia more. And then I figured after my PhD, if it turns out that I like academia, I want to like keep going with professorship and things like that, I will do it. Otherwise, I think even right now the plan is to kind of stay like after my PhD, because a CS PhD or like a PhD even in like STEM, like neuroscience, physics, computer science, all of that allows you to like jump to industry, because these are like very rigorous PhDs with
Right.
transferable skills and things like that. So I might spend some time in industry in like AI or whatever my interests are at that time, which hopefully stay the same, but you never know. And then like after some time, whether if I like it, I'll keep staying there. If not, I can always make the jump back to academia. So I think doing a PhD allows me to get the best out of both worlds, knowing that I'm a little unsure about whether I want to do an industry later on. But like, and also like knowing that I want to do a PhD, no, like I get this like sense of security, or like sense of like um like
Certainty.
certainty, exactly, certainty that I will be like in school, or like I know what I'll be doing for the next like 6 years, because like 1 year of pre-doc now, and then maybe 1 or 2 years of pre-doc, and then maybe a PhD. So then like I know that after only I kind of have to like based on what I know then, I hope I know a lot more to make a more informed decision about industry versus academia. It's like I've kind of made the decision of academia, but like I guess I am doing the lazy thing of postponing the larger decision to like after my PhD. But I think the decision will be a lot easier then too. But like I doing a PhD, I guess I would have kind of had that academic experience as well, and then also this. But like grad school, yeah. So like decision between research and industry was made then, like when I or like grad school was industry was made then. But I guess like the only reason I would choose to like go for a job would be if I realize that like I'm okay with like even like an entry level like a development or like a software engineer role, which I'm not. I don't like building things for the sake of building things or like to solve problems. I know that's a little different to what I said before, but I guess like something about like AI really draws me in right now, and that, like I said, requires like a PhD. And I feel like I would be happy doing a PhD because I've liked the research experience that I've had. Because like something that again like you should do, like I think people should do, is that once you kind of realize, okay, I'm leaning a bit towards research with academia, take some research projects on and then see how you feel. And if those are positive experiences, you know that you can at least give it a shot, or like give more research projects a shot and then take it from there. But if you feel like you do like an industry internship and you like that better, do that. I think that's the only way of knowing. But before that, I would like kind of just scan the field, scan the type of jobs that you see yourself doing, and look at the requirements. If they want like grad school, then you kind of have to do grad school. The question is whether or not you'll do some work before or not, before or after. But for a PhD, you don't really need like work experience in a tech role before. But like sometimes you may need it. So I guess that would be my advice. But yeah, I think my decision was quite straightforward and like convenient for me because I got to just delay it. And as a procrastinator, I love that.
So you'll be starting a program when exactly?
A PhD program.
No, your
Pre-doc
1 year
program. Yeah.
pre-doc program.
That starts like it's a very structured but like also a little free, like so it's up to me. And because like I may want to apply to like PhDs over December again, so it's better if I start early and get some progress. And so I was thinking July 1st I would start.
Well, this year that is. Usually second or third or first or second years, you see, they determine their master's program, they base it off of the prestige a college has. Whereas the best or the most important factor I'd say for deciding where to do your PhD is the advisor.
Yeah.
Because that person is going to control your life for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a solid relationship with them, it's going to be hell.
It's a very astute observation for someone in their first year to make. Like I only started realizing all this in my final year.
Well, you talk to people, you learn things.
Good.
So
that's nice.
And so there was a physics person who came from Germany, not Germany, and he talked about how his PhD advisor is pretty good. They have lunch together, they have coffee together, they have informal chats, and of course, all of that relationship is important,
right? Yeah.
To work under them.
Yeah.
And you hear stories about people who work under Nobel Prize winning PhD people, and because they're so damn busy, they give you like 20 minutes a semester or something like that, and that too because they have to do it.
Right.
I mean, you can even Professor Shoma, he's extremely busy, so he can't give that much time to his ESP students. I mean, Kushal was talking about that as well. So for someone trying to decide let's say this person has decided that they want to do a PhD or work in academia, what factors do you think they should consider? For instance, PhD advisor is one that I mentioned. I'd say prestige should not be your top 3.
Yeah, you're right.
Or just the environment you want to work in.
Yeah.
The people you want to surround yourself by. So in your experience, what factors should this person consider?
I think you're right in the sense that prestige really doesn't matter. And like the way I see it, the further you go in your graduate or like in your higher education, the less prestige matters. Like in undergraduate, if it matters at all, it matters most in your undergraduate. And if you're doing a master's, it'll matter a bit less. But like it matters on the subject area that you're going to for that school, because like it's not just like this blanket label that you're putting anymore. Like if you're wanting like a computer science master's degree, you would want to go to like a place that's renowned for computer science,
right?
So not just like, any IVs. You would even like there are some like tier 1 CS colleges that are outside like maybe like Georgia Tech, Purdue, things like that are also great schools. So I would say that would be like the prestige equivalent in like stage and like the master's stage. But in PhD, I don't think the prestige plays a role at all unless it holds some personal value to you. I would not like put any like value in it otherwise. The advisor, I think, is the most important thing. Firstly, you need to know that like what you want to do will be something that the advisor, he or she, will be able to like advise you over, whether it's in their expertise or whether it's even in their curiosity like sphere right now at that given time. So talking to them even before you apply is something that you should do, like for like a successful PhD application, just so that like even just for like a chat where you get to know them. And get a sense of what they like, and like whether if you love the work that they're doing, that means that if you may be able to work on other projects with them and like alongside your PhD, which is also good, because I think that we're just working on one project at all times might get a bit too much, because like if you're not making progress on one, I like to like take a break from that and work on something else and come back to it. So that helps. And also talking to lab members that you will be working with to get a sense of the lab culture, to also get a sense of how the advisor is like outside like a one-on-one conversation.
Right. So that's given you're working in a lab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because most of the time when you're doing a PhD, you'll be joining a lab and like working under an advisor. Most advisors, especially like in the US, most professors in like at least in my experience from CS and neuroscience, they all have a lab of their own. They're PIs in their own lab.
Like a physical lab.
No, it's not physical in the sense that there is like a lab or anything. It's just like a group. So when you're when you go to CS dot I don't know Purdue dot edu or whatever, you'll go to research. You'll see all the labs in computer science, and then each lab is called, I don't know, the decision making lab, the computational neuroscience lab, whatever. They're just like labs. Or they could be called groups as well. And like that's just like a way of structuring research at a university. And then like you'll be working on if you like want to do computational neuroscience, for example, you'll be working with a PI who's specialized in that.
PI is
the principal investigator, who is like the professor who's leading their lab.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I just thought of Sherlock Holmes when he's a principal investigator.
Fair enough. Like, yeah, it's a funny term to call a lead researcher, I guess. Yeah, but the first in command to investigate. Yeah. And you'll be working with other lab members, PhDs or postdocs,
Right.
who is working with that professor in the same area, or like in the same areas that are the areas of emphasis for that lab. So you kind of need to talk to the other people to get a sense of what the lab culture is like, if it's collaborative, and like how their experience with the advisor has been. Another thing you should know is like how you work. If you work well completely by yourself with very little hands-on involvement but from like a superior like a professor, you kind of want like a hands-off advisor. If you need that extra guidance and extra direction, if you want to be held, because like someone like me, I'm really lazy. I need like constant deadlines, and this is something that I was very skeptical of when I like committed to a PhD, or like committed that I want to like go into this like independent academia path. Like I need deadlines and things like that. I need like to be held accountable either by myself or someone else to like do it. So I would require like a hands-on PI or like a hands-on professor to help me like run things, even if it's my own research. So like you'll only get to know all of that from the other lab members. So like talking to like lab members is almost as crucial or maybe more crucial than talking to your potential advisor itself.
And how do you reach them? Like through email usually?
Yeah, through email. Just saying that, I am interested in, I'm give you an introduction. I'm interested in like applying for a PhD position at your university, and then I want to like join your lab. And I've already talked to your professor or like whatever. And like I just want to get a sense of like culture, work culture. You can just like write, if you're really busy, you can just send me an email with it. Otherwise, I want to like meet.
Do you usually get replies?
Yeah, like especially students will reply. I think even professors, like from my experience in cold emailing, professors reply. Most of the time it's like negative if you like just ask for like work, which is fine, which is like expected, and like something hits. But like if it's just asking for information, like if you're asking questions about that paper, people are very happy to respond. Especially like if you're a professor working in like the academic field, if you just care about research, you'll work at a research institution. And if you're working at a university, that means you care about students and you want to mentor students as well. And that means that they're happy helping students who may or may not join them later. They're just like happy to kind of guide students wherever they are. I think that's the mark of like any decent professor. And most professors at like good places that you'd want to apply to are decent professors. So you should be fine with that. They will reply.
I think a lot of people underutilize resources they get in college. One of them being professors.
Yeah.
We don't seem to understand, at least I haven't understand this fully, that I have access to someone who's been working in a field for 40 years that I might potentially want to work in. Or just the fact that this person has so many decades of wisdom. And this guy has the same interests as me. And this guy was once in a position that I currently am right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So even when we're writing, and of course, from the more transactional point of view, this relationship comes in handy when you need LORs, or when you need internships, when you need just recommendations and stuff like that. But even from a mentor point, feel like a lot of students miss out on that mentorship experience, especially if you're at a large university. But because we're at Ashoka and it's extremely small right now,
It's difficult to miss out on it.
we get that privilege of that one-on-one
Yeah.
interaction that we want. I mean, I can email English professors and they respond with,
Yeah.
okay, you can come for office hours even though you're not enrolled in my course. Even our FCs courses, now they're touching hundreds, but I'm sure back when you did your FCs, they were 60s, 80s max.
Yeah, 80s to 100.
Yeah.
Some of like the popular ones even reach 150, but like mostly 80 to 100.
Acha. Did you have a similar experience underutilizing any resource in college? Because
No, I think you're right. Many people do underutilize this. And like this is something I told Ved as well yesterday when I was talking about just like getting like insights on what you want to do. Like there are people like you said who have gone through the exact same experience. They've done their undergrad in India. They want to do PhD or like a master's in the US, like a potential student at Ashoka CS or physics might. And then they did that, like, and then they've probably worked in the same exact field that you want to work in as well. So like you said, it's very like it's an insane resource that we have, especially with the student faculty ratio. Like it's you get that extra attention, professors will remember you. And like I think I've, especially the old professors at CS, the ones who have been here for like a year or so, I've like just like sat and talked to them about like what I want to do, and then they've just like, even if I've never taken a course with them, they've been extremely like generous with the advice they give. They sit and talk for an hour
right.
about like not just like the field or like how to like go to grad school and like things that you should be doing. It's just more about like just like chatting about the field that we like. I remember talking to Banerjee about it, and he like shat on me saying that neuroscience isn't what's gonna make AI better, it's gonna be philosophy. He even wrote an article about it recently. But like I remember like trying to argue with him that day. Like that this was like towards the end of my second year, and I think I walked out of that conversation knowing that I like neuroscience and AI more than that, because like I just sat and like defended it for like an hour with probability advantage. So even like in unconventional ways, I think that's insanely valuable. And luckily, I think I had in my first year, even though it was online, I had a few seniors who recommended I just like send emails to professors and ask about like research or like internship opportunities, and I just sent an email to the buy-in in like
During your first year?
my first year summer. So
Okay.
I just finished ICP, and I told them like I'd taken FCP with you, I really loved it, and I want to do something involving like cognitive science, because that at that point like that was what I liked, and like and also something to do with CS. And like then he put me on my first research project, and from that point onwards I built a connection with the buy-in, and similarly I started reaching out to other professors too, so I built connections with Professor Banerjee. And like when you TA also, like you build like a pretty good connection with the professor you're TAing with, especially if you do a good job. Like they'll know to trust you as like they're like number two, number three, as like someone who they are happy with, like doing their job. So like in that way, like you're building in like in a lot of interpersonal relationships with these really big people, like, and you don't expect them to be really big people because like you see them every day.
Yeah.
And then there's this like some sort of psychological thing where we like kind of equate people being like extremely busy, or like people being like extremely like untouchable for them to be like really important. But then people like Suban, people like PPD, they're all like these are CS professors who are like insanely like valuable, who have insanely like accomplished careers, who have just like textbooks of advice that they could just like give you if you just like sit on like a 15-minute meeting with them.
Even through your, imagining, so you've been chair at IEEE for like what, 10 months or something?
Yeah.
2 semesters.
Yeah.
I'm sure even through that, just arranging events, making sure everything's running smoothly, getting sponsors, getting guests, even through that, you built a lot of connections.
Yeah, you're right.
Like at different universities and even professors.
Yeah.
So, what got you into IEEE, by the way?
What, sorry?
So you joined IEEE during your 6th semester, I'm assuming?
No, it was actually my fifth semester. Fifth semester, like after my fourth semester summer, I was doing this internship with Professor Banerjee here in the summer, and like a few other people who was there in the summer. Some came up to me and talked about IEEE because they like the band wanted to start this like IEEE thing. Are you interested? And that's how I became part of the founding team, and then like I became chair like a year later.
So how's it been being chair?
It's been very like one of the most rewarding experiences at Ashoka. Like a lot of CS majors like despise Ashoka, especially Ashoka CS, especially in my batch. They're like, I can't believe I came here. But like I've been, I mean, there are of course like many people who are like grateful for the opportunities at Ashoka, and I think I'm one of them because like that liberal curriculum, like the flexibility, the ability to do FCs, the ability to do whatever courses you please, to like build your own curriculum. I think that's insane, and like also the professor connections, like I mentioned, and those are the two big things that I'm very grateful for Ashoka. And I really wanted to give back in some way. And like I was never a huge fan of clubs and societies because I remember joining the CSOC in my first year. And like, CSOC was very different to how it was now. So like no hate to any CSOC people who are running it. I love like the current CSOC. But then like I didn't like how it was run back then. I left it in a semester. It was very like politics based, and there was this like constant like beef between CSOC and Wix and things like that.
Oh, that's
Which,
cute.
yeah, it was, but like this was back in the day, and like it was a little toxic, and I didn't really benefit from it at all. But then like knowing, getting to like define a society from its like very beginnings, and like know, being able to like construct a society that goes across disciplines, across the scientific disciplines, and like cater to like the interdisciplinary like students who are interested in interdisciplinary
Yeah.
sciences as well, was like an opportunity I couldn't really like turn my back on, because like I wanted to give back and I never knew, like I felt like TA-ship was like a way that I felt was another way like I felt really like satisfied, because being able to like help students like with their office through office hours, and like with their clearing their doubts and stuff like that, but also this way like I felt like I could reach more people too. So like that's why I decided, knowing that it would be a huge commitment in my fourth year when I had like grad school and thesis also, I decided to like apply for like and apply for chair. And I remember my previous like chairs telling me like it's a huge thing. You may like have to sacrifice a little bit of your coursework and stuff for this. And I like I figured like I'd be able to manage, but like I did end up sacrificing a little, but I think it was fine. It was like the events that you organize, and like it, if you design them with the hope of like making a true impact on like people's like learning, on people's like access to education, which is what we try to do with like our neve collaborations, I think like there it's an incredibly rewarding experience. And especially like this STEM fest that we pulled off like
Chimera.
last few months, that was an insane like amount of work that we had to do. Like I did not like, especially in that
You don't
last
Chimera
yeah,
here.
Chimera,
Okay,
yeah. So the 1 month before Chimera, like there was nothing else that was on my mind other than like making sure it was running smooth, and like getting funding, and like talking to professors, and like their connections and their secondary connections to like get them and come and give a talk at Ashoka. Great. Like it was like so much work, but like it felt like I was building like a lot of soft skills too, like that I didn't even know. I never expected to go and like ask for 2 lakhs from like a professor, and like that's crazy. That I probably would have thought that that's like a little embarrassing, a little humiliating, but then like kind of pitching it in like a very professional way, and then saying that it's all for like the STEM community at Shoka, and like skill building and things like that. I think it required like a new set of skills that I had to pick up, and like I think I'm a better person for it, for having picked those up. And I think I'm quite happy with how everything has turned out, and knowing that I was able to like get people from outside Ashoka to come and like expose like our Ashokan scientific community as well as them to us. I think that's been like a quite. I think that was one of the biggest goals that Misha and I had when we started our IEEE tenure, which was to like kind of bridge the gap between STEM at Ashoka with STEM outside Ashoka, because like everyone still had that perception of Ashoka as like a non-STEM. Like why would you go do physics, or why would you go do CS at Ashoka? So like we wanted to like start talking to the IIITs, the IIT Delhi's, like bring their students here and like send our students there and things like that, and like, have an exchange of like knowledge, and like kind of start building ties, so that like we think that like it's only going to help on the respective communities by doing that.
So we're gonna have camera again, hopefully every year.
Yeah, no.
Hopefully this is a yearly thing.
Yeah.
What was your biggest? Whenever you do something this big, there are always fuck ups.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you guys had at least some of them, or not really.
No, we were trying like we had
But you guys had excellent volunteers, I know.
no
Besides
yeah,
that,
yeah. No, that was not a fuck up. I think that was fine.
no, yeah, that's what I mean. We're
Yeah,
really
you guys were
fucking
here.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
exactly. You guys carried the event without you, what we have done. No, that I think like even in the like this weekend we had like our farewell lunch at like in Delhi with like, the entire team as like a thank you for like helping out with Chimera thing, and like Misha and I were trying to think of like things that really like went under and like we tried to fix, but like luckily I can't really think of anything, I think, which was extremely rare. And like I'm sure something things went wrong, but like at least at this point I'm not able to remember. And like I think
Mm-hmm.
things did end up running smoothly, which was ideal situation for us. Like I I was blessed with like an insanely talented like executive council team, general council team, and also the volunteers who helped run the event. We'll still like you guys still need certificates and stuff, right? And t-shirts. We're
You don't.
still getting those.
Dude, I don't have certificate for it.
Certificates probably useless.
That's the only thing I've received my entire life. Participation certificates.
This is like a you helped out run this. You were part of the team certificate, and
Thank
we'll
you.
give you a t-shirt too.
Oh, I can use some clothes, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think because of like the team that was behind us supporting us and like the team that helped run the event, I think we managed to pull off like a semi decent event that did not have many fuck ups.
So we're gonna have camera again, like I said.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a different chair next semester.
Mhm.
Different team the team is gonna change really.
Drastically.
Yeah, it's gonna change, right? Different
Right, of
your
course.
batch is gonna graduate. So I don't know, for them, do you have anything to say to them about what
The
camera
chair.
is?
Like the future leaders of IEEE.
Yeah, what IEEE is to
Hopefully they
you,
know.
what camera
Hopefully
is.
I've talked to them like separately already, like knowing that like we're currently going through our like leadership and transitions, like electing a new chair and things like that. But I think the things to like not forget about like what IEEE's role is that it's the only society that's able to kind of like work function across disciplines, across the STEM disciplines. And we are not here to like replace any other society's like role. You know, the CS society will still do their like workshops of like Python on you know Git and things like that, and similarly physics. We don't want to touch on like anyone's like specialties. I think where we come in is with our like professional like our IEEE network that we have, and like the big organization that's like you know supporting us from behind.
Mm-hmm.
We are able to I think offer like you know industry visits and like industry related events, and also like our name helps kind of like bring other IEEE members who are like you know famous or whatever or like successful in their fields to come give talks here, things like that. But also like by being an interdisciplinary like society by definition, we also want to be like the ones that are designing these events, designing events that cater to that audience who, and at Ashoka that audience is huge. People who want to do physics and CS, people who want to like you know and do biology and chemistry together, biology and physics together. There's so much like untapped potential in those events, in those spaces, that we are not catering to with like our individual societies, which is why I think IEEE has that unique opportunity to do so. And like with Chimera, we also want to like make sure that externally we are doing as much as we can to provide exposure to Ashokan students with like this kind of work that's happening in STEM across Delhi or across India, hopefully in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm quite confident with my future successors or whoever's going to be my successors that they will do a decent job at it, or like a better job at it.
Do you kind of wish that you had camera when you were I don't know, first year,
Yeah,
second
of
year?
course, definitely. Like most of IEEE, I think me and both Misha and I, who are like running the society, are fourth years, and like a lot of the events that we kind of had a vision about, or like we kind of like, you know, knew that we wanted to do this year was like from like a meeting right after we became chairs, when we just like kind of dumped out ideas in onto
Uh-huh.
Google Doc about things that we know we would have benefited in our first or second years when we realized that we are a STEM major, and like knowing that we have interests across STEM disciplines. So I think I would have definitely benefited from a lot of these events. I would have definitely liked to you know win a lot of money by just like because like I was a web developer back in the day when I like uh, to earn some money in my first year summer as well. So like I think I would have been able to like win some money here and like hopefully use that for I don't know my social life, Shoka, whatever. But yeah.
Sweet, yeah. So, so again, back to Kushal because I
Hmm.
just remember this conversation really fondly. We
Yeah.
talked for 4.5 hours.
Oh wow,
Yeah, that was.
that's crazy.
He told me. I asked him what were his favorite course. Can you guess his favorite courses, by the way? So I asked him, Kushal, what were
Are
your
they
favorite
are
courses?
they mostly physics or
I mean, I'm not going to give you a hint.
I mean
He's a physics major. I'm going to tell you that much.
stat mech?
No.
Computational physics.
You can even just okay. I'm gonna give you. It's not from physics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I asked. I
Oh,
literally asked, like,
shit,
is,
yeah.
is it from physics?
No, no, no.
Okay. Like, are, are they FCs or do they do a lot of courses outside? Or would that be a
Fuck,
hint?
this was a very ill-posed question. I'll just tell you. Sanskrit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he does like talk about being a sannyasi and stuff at times. Oh wow.
He talks a lot about the Vedas and
Oh,
Vedic
that's
language
very
and stuff.
interesting.
So those were his favorite
Oh,
courses.
do you like read books? Because like
He didn't mention those.
hmm.
He didn't mention any FCs that fondly.
Okay. Oh,
Sanskrit
interesting.
was a big play. Computational physics because it really taught him how to program
Hmm.
reasonably well, at least physics में जितना
Yeah.
चाहिए होता है.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. Those were the courses we talked about.
Hmm.
But we've talked about CSR Ashoka. I'd like to talk about the more informal aspects of Ashoka. Don't worry, not gonna go into too deep of stuff.
I see.
But whenever I do research right on guests, LinkedIn is obviously the first place I go to
Okay.
because that's how I connect. That's how I find them usually.
Right.
And or even any social media. Any social media profile, what's the first thing you see? Well, this is my specialization. At least college students के case में.
Right.
This is my field. This is my GPA. These are the things that I worked on. And then there's the I hate this shit. I am proud to not proud. I'm excited to announce my internship at fucking
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah.
You peasants.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
Yeah.
But
But like it's implied. I got into Google. What have you been up to?
yeah.
It's like doing a little gradebooks assignment, have you? Yeah.
I sleep for negative 5 minutes. Like shit like that.
Yeah.
Right. Very rarely do you see their failures. Someone was talking to Somil. He got into World Bank, right? He interned at the World Bank
Yeah.
as well. And he applied to Dalberg.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dalberg. In
That
fact,
was his like favorite place to intern at, I think. And then he had to reject that to go to World Bank.
World Bank, yeah.
It's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
So he applied to 3 places.
Yeah.
And he thought that he has no shot of getting into any of
Yeah.
them. And even to World Bank, he was like, hey, I'm not going to get into this. He got into all 3.
Yeah.
But what people see is, oh, World Bank internship, now works at the World Bank. They don't see the fear, the hesitation, the doubt he had
Yeah.
before that. And people in general seem to be extremely hesitant to share their failures.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I do understand that. Why would you want to say on LinkedIn that I got an F? But even on social media, people seem to be very hesitant to share their failures.
Yeah.
So, just in general, what's something you tried to work on college mein that you just couldn't pull off? Not necessarily failed at, but something you didn't do that well in.
That's a good question.
Or did you do one?
No, like I'm sure there are.
Experimenting.
Like it's just that you never really like think about this as like even a potential question like before a podcast or like even before like it's barely in your thoughts. So I think most recently I really messed up my grad school applications. Like I said, like I had like this intention on going to a PhD, but then like having talked to my seniors, like if I'm not sure if you've heard of Soham De, like he is like I think the flagship CS major Ashoka has produced in the recent years.
Oh, what do you mean?
As in like he was extremely talented. He like TA'd in his 3rd semester. He was my TA for FCP, and like everyone looked up to him as like this person who, who was really good at CS at Ashoka. And then like he went on and got into PhDs right after Ashoka, which again no one expected because like a PhD after undergraduate by itself is difficult, and in the US, and PhD after undergraduate at like Ashoka from India, which is not like an IIT or an NIT, is even more difficult. So the fact that he pulled that off was like insane, very inspirational. Like I haven't talked to him much. He had this like indirect effect on me that like I kind of like started dreaming about PhD too. Because like I also thought that I would do a master's first, like back in my 2nd year. But then like after like kind of having like a similar trajectory in the sense of both of us did like a little bit of research from our 2nd year onwards. He obviously did better like at like MSR, Microsoft, and things like that. But like I had this like he got into like great place. Maybe I can get into like a decent like a smaller place too. But then like right after like that was during like the summer of 3rd year. But then right after that I started doubting myself like you know, maybe I started going through Reddit and like the grad school admissions process, and which you should never do, I think. The horrible, horrible place. And then that's when like I would see all these insane profiles getting rejected from like semi decent places that you thought you had a shot at. So like, and then I started doubting myself, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'm not ready for a PhD. And then I started like implicitly blaming Ashoka for it. I was like, you know, maybe the Ashoka courses haven't prepared me enough because they have been quite easy and like you know, like a they haven't been quite rigorous so far, so maybe like I need to like do some more like rigorous coursework and then do
Mm-hmm.
that. But then the way like I think I looked at grad school was like that it's going to be like a research experience for me, that like I want to like do a lot more research and like figure out that I love doing research in this area and then apply it to a PhD. That was like how I saw masters, like after that realization, okay, maybe I'm not good enough for a PhD right now. And what happened was that I ended up like that kind of like perspective, like this is what I kind of figured after talking to like my professors too, that kind of perspective doesn't really bode well for a master's program, because a master's program like these are a little bit like, some of them are really good as in that they're funded and everything, but a lot
Right.
of them like are like places where like their universities make money, so they kind of like want to maximize yield and things like that. And also they want to make sure that you like a lot of people who apply for PhDs also apply to masters as like safeties, so they want to make sure that, you know, if you're like a PhD type of student, you probably will get in somewhere else, so like you shouldn't like, they will probably just like reject you based on that. So something that I ended up doing was that I like applied to a lot of master's places with like a PhD type profile of like emphasizing that I really want to do research in this very specialized field, which like isn't too like in retrospect was horribly like stupid, because a master's like an MS in CS is very generic, as in like you kind of want to go in with like this like curiosity about CS in general, and not about like this like zoomed in thing that um in like CS or like loosely linked to CS.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like I think that's a reason why most of my like master's applications didn't go well as I'd liked. And like I lucked out because like right when I was applying to my like masters, I kind of like did not even like, I knew some of the masters programs were not great for me, but I still ended up applying to them because they had funding and things like that. And I kind like as I was finishing up my master applications, I realized that okay, I made a mistake. I should have applied to PhDs, because like these are way too specific for my masters, and I wasted a shit ton of money on like application fees too. I felt really bad about my parents, but luckily like I'm privileged enough, I think like that didn't like hurt my parents too much, but like they didn't, yeah, they didn't seem to mind, but like I felt horrible. But like another, so like I lucked out because like I applied to this like Google pre-doc thing, which is like Google Bangalore has this, even MSR has this thing, research fellowship thing,
Mm-hmm.
where you can like apply for right out of your bachelor's or master's, you apply and they'll give you research experience in their research labs for like a year or two, and then you can apply for a doctoral degree or PhD after that. So I applied to that, and through that, like I got in touch with this investigator there, a researcher there, who kind of like had some interest to me earlier, and he suggested that his the I applied to work under him, but he said that like his like interest had moved on, so he like connected me to this guy at IISc, and that's how I got my pre-doc at IISc. So like I lucked out that I had something to do, something like amazing to do that would still put me on that PhD track. But I could have, if like that Google thing did not happen, I would be quite like unemployed for this next year, because like my grad schools didn't work out too well. The few master's programs I did apply to are very expensive, and like stuff that I probably like, they entail things that I probably wouldn't want to do at all. So
Let's say your master's, let's say this PhD thing didn't even postdoctoral,
pre-doc,
pre-doctoral program didn't
yeah,
work out either,
yeah,
and you're left with this. Fuck, now what?
yeah,
No postdoc in sight.
mhm,
कहाँ है postdoc नहीं दिख रहा.
yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what would you do?
I would I think firstly I would be like depressed, and like I would, because like especially seeing all my like friends and everyone like going to like doing good things, and like mm, and like if I had felt that I was like unprepared, I would be okay. But knowing that I was very like I put in a lot of effort, and knowing that I would have been fine at like a grad school, I probably could have gotten into a PhD program if I properly applied like with the same intention. So that's what Professor Dabine also said, that would have made me feel like very guilty and like that I messed up. But like I would have gotten out of it, and I think I would have continued. like I would just talk to my professors for guidance, and like even like I was talking to Professor Daban yesterday. He just offered that, don't worry too much about this thing. Even if the IISc thing doesn't work out and you hate it there, you can always come back to Ashoka, and like I'll give you some projects, and like I'll pay you so that you don't like you don't like feel like you're just working here. And yeah, sorry, so you don't just feel like you're doing like a fifth year here, and like you feel like a proper difference. And like he was very sweet about it, and I'm sure like if I'd like pushed him or pushed other professors, they would have helped me find leads outside Ashoka also, which is something I would have pursued over for the year, and then did like and applied for my PhDs like in a nicer way, or like in a more like focused manner, because like there is like a way to apply for PhDs, and that's like talking to advisors and stuff beforehand before you apply, like I was talking about earlier. But then I decided I shouldn't do that at all because I don't think I was fit for it.
So what would you say is the ideal way to apply for a PhD?
Okay, so an ideal way to apply for a PhD is like know that you want to do a PhD, and I know don't doubt yourself that you aren't good enough for a PhD. But like again, I think you should ask me this question if I get into a PhD next year, because right now I feel like I'm just like talking shit. But
Well, we'll see.
yeah, but like the ideal way I know that I'm going to apply now is that have research experience in the fields that I claim to be passionate about, because like Ashoka did not allow me to do a lot of research in the intersection of neuroscience and deep learning. That's why like my thesis, since I started my thesis, I'm able to do work in that field. But otherwise, I didn't have much experience when I was like writing my applications. That would be one thing, and another thing would just be like I think my SOP and stuff was fine for a PhD. Like it was more of a PhD SOP than um,
Masters.
master's SOP, definitely, because it was a lot more like I'm really passionate about this. I want to make like a difference in this field. I want to work on this with this lab, blah blah. And also yeah, talking to advisors like a few like 3-4 months before the deadline, and then just like getting a sense of what they expect from a PhD candidate, because they will in PhDs and admissions committee doesn't review applications like fully. Like the admission committee kind of like does this like cursory check of like credentials, and then they hand it over to your like preferred advisors, and then they make the decision of whether or not to onboard you based on the funds that they have and things like
So a
that.
professor does it, or like the department professors like they group up and they do it?
It varies across. I've seen like I've read blogs about from professors who kind of take it upon themselves to kind of take in PhD candidates, because like it's up to them. You're applying to their lab almost. Otherwise, you are applying to the department, and the department makes a decision together. And then the professor you have vouched for you, like has like a deciding vote almost on it, like has a weighted vote or something like that. So, or maybe like it's completely like you only the department lets you in, and then if your advisor is free, like you get assigned to the advisor or something like that. So
Okay. So having research experience in the field you claim to have an interest in.
Yeah.
That's number 3.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's pretty much it. Like GRE and stuff, I couldn't care less about. I don't think people care about even anymore. It's a very outdated way of evaluating your competence, especially like when you're applying to something like a PhD where it's extremely specialized. Like who cares about like whether or not you can separate the independent clause or the dependent clause from a sentence? Like you better, like I'm sure you are good at it, and I'm sure you'll survive. But like the fact that you've done like a lot of research and like have been able to write academic papers that they will read themselves should be enough evidence that he is
Competent in English.
yeah, skilled at language.
Right. How important would you say are LORs?
LORs are also massively important. Again, like when you were talking about, like I didn't want to talk about because you already mentioned that transactional element when talking to professors and leveraging that opportunity of having the professors as connection. But like they are the only way, because like that they are like the massive fact checkers. Because like CV, you can bullshit on your SOP as much as you want, but like professors, like unless they are like bad people, they would be very objective about like this guy has done all of this, and I loved working with this guy, and like like when he had this problem in the project, he had this solution to it, and like I was very impressed by that. Blah, blah. That's how like a normal LOR sounds, and like or like a good LOR sounds. And like there are professors who write really bad LORs, or like some professors, like I'm not sure whether it's a good or bad thing, but I would find this a bad thing, where it's like they ask you to write it for them, and then
An LOR?
yeah, like that's usually like rare at Ashoka, but I've still seen it. But I don't think it's ideal, because like you like firstly like you probably will sound like a student writing it, because like I don't know what the secret like I've never seen an LOR, because like it's confidential, right? You're
Of
not allowed
course,
to
yeah,
read
yeah,
an LOR. So like I don't know what the language is, like how a normal LOR would look like. I just heard about it from like professors and like blogs that I've seen of like professors writing it. So like I don't know if I would use the right language, and I can't write like about myself like that in
yeah. That's
third person.
pretty.
That's really weird, and you have to be like a little narcissistic to be like really like, oh yeah, he's extremely talented at this, and then like I've never seen a better programmer, blah blah blah. Like all these superlatives, they'll catch it too. They'll be like, okay, these are a bit few too many superlatives. We should take that with like a grain of salt.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think LORs are really important because they like this is someone who has gone through the PhD process, who's gone through academia and has a lot of experience in academia, and then they're vouching for you that this person will make a good fit in academia in your institution. So I think universities, I think the most important thing you can write, the most important part of your application is your SOP, because that shows like how passionate you are, and then it's your LOR, and then comes everything else.
SOP is literally why the hell do you want to do
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
Yeah, I need to make a strong case for
yeah.
that. You've heard about Einstein, right? I'm assuming.
The person.
He spent 10 years developing the theory of general relativity.
Hmm.
And he would work day and night. I hope so.
Hmm.
I don't know if he did actually, but I assumed he worked pretty hard.
Hmm.
He developed tensor calculus with his friend Mars.
Hmm.
I think he took Mars, his classmates' help as well, Grossman.
Hmm.
And he spent day and night doing that. When finally 1999, पता नहीं कब हुआ था यार, fuck up the dates. When finally it was confirmed that GR's predictions are right, that was the peak of Einstein's fame.
Right.
Right. And a lot of us seem, when I see your profile from the surface level, oh, IEEE head, interested in neuroscience and this, has done so many research projects. Oh, and he also knows web development for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, this guy's pretty cool. He has his life sorted. This another thing we mentioned earlier, right? Very rarely do we see the work they put in, or you use the term opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we analyze what opportunities they said no to. So I just it's the things that we say no to that define us more than the things we say yes to.
Yeah.
Kind of like that attitude. So it's much harder to say no to something when you're committed to something that you're really excited about. And I'm sure you've said no to a lot of opportunities, your time at Ashoka, club work, friendships even. So on the note of that, there's this triangle that you get either sleep, academics, or you get friendships. Yeah. To what extent is that really true for you?
I think again, like I count
In your
myself as
experience,
a
yeah.
I count myself as a pretty lucky person. I am like usually I don't consider myself the most social person. Like I have a tight, like close circle of friends. I keep that small and like relatively small. And like I have like this expectations of like friendships being like working for me when they're low maintenance. Like otherwise I like they tend to like kind of die out myself.
Like not meeting, like meeting a couple of
Like
times a week, perhaps.
yeah, something like that, or like maybe you guys just like work together, or like spend like get meals together and things like that. But like you don't need to like constantly do things for you to be friends, like especially like my friends back at home and things like that. Like when I don't like texting them every day is impossible at Ashoka when you're in like this 13-week bubble of like constant coursework and like extracurricular and stuff like that. Like texting people back home every day is insane, or like every even regularly. So like I there are friends who I just like go back to and like haven't talked to for 6 months, but just act completely normal, like we never like left each other. Those are the friendships that like work for me, and like I think that's been the case to like a smaller extent at Ashoka too. So like my social life hasn't been harmed too much by the sacrifice that I make, but like definitely there have been opportunities, or there have been like things that I had to like say no to, or things that were definitely friendships that were a bit higher, or friendships or relationships that were a bit higher in like the requirement that, or the effort that I had to give in, but I couldn't because of like my perfection disorder, where I have to get like A's in my course that semester. So things like that, like there are costs, but I think I was relatively like
Aware of them.
aware of them, and like it didn't affect me too that horribly. And I'm sure like it does affect people, and I think there is some truth to the triangle thing, where you have to optimize for like optimizing for two of them might lead to like you doing bad in one of them. But for me, since my social requirements I think were a bit low to begin with, I was able to like not suffer or like not be miserable in any of the fields. And I still sleep like 9 hours a day.
So, do you know Alex Hormozy?
No.
So he's just a huge businessman.
Yeah.
Chris Williamson is a famous podcaster,
Okay.
and they released an episode a couple of months ago.
Hmm.
And one of the things he said is he talked about how when he was really working hard on his business,
Hmm.
going from place to place, just working 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
He's a pretty big guy. He hits the
Hmm.
gym and shit like that. And he's pretty lean considering the size he has. He talked about how for 3 years my priorities weren't my physique or even my diet.
Hmm.
It was my business.
Hmm.
So who gives a shit if for 3 years I'm not that healthy or if
Hmm.
I put a couple of kilos in?
Yeah.
No. End of the day, 3 years later, I do have a good business and now I can focus on my health.
Hmm.
And he thinks about he talks about how he sees people who overly optimize life.
Hmm.
Health ko bhi karna hai. I need to work towards a source of
Yeah.
income. I need to work towards my coursework.
Yeah.
And that's a person, and that's me. That's what I do. He says that those people are extremely easy to beat because I don't need to sleep for 8 hours.
Yeah.
I can sleep for 6 hours and work 12 hours on my business.
Hmm.
Also, I'm willing to sacrifice my health for that. I'm willing to sacrifice my social life for that. That's his philosophy of productivity.
Yeah.
For me, I need 8 hours of sleep,
Hmm.
especially given the fact that I'm doing something that's very hard intellectually, man.
Exactly.
I need 8 hours
Hmm.
and I need to work out. It helps me clear my head.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I need to eat healthy as well. I can't live without vegetables.
Hmm.
That's my productivity philosophy, so to speak.
Right.
I need exercise, I need healthy food,
Hmm.
and sleep. So, what is your approach to productivity? I'm just curious.
I think like yours sounds great. Like if you know what works for you, I think that's perfect. That's all you need, because you just need to like be confident that you're doing everything you can to like put yourself in like a successful or like potential for success position, right? And the whatever, I forgot the guy's name, the successful guy.
Alex Hormozy, yeah.
Yeah, Alex's like insights also seem like fair, but it seems a little unhealthy about like taking, like cutting away your sleep or cutting like sacrificing your health for it. Unless like you're extremely passionate about it, I get it. But like for me, I find it difficult for me to be extremely passionate about something such that I would sacrifice things for, especially like my health. Like a few hours of sleep here and there, completely fine. I think that's like bound to happen, and I think that's another reason like that I would ask people to like sleep for 8 to 9 hours, because like that builds a reserve for when you have to like pull out all nighters, and then you won't be too messed up by it, and you just have to like sleep in a few extra hours the next day. Like I think as long as you know what works for you, and for me, I know that like I have a set routine where like I have to sleep for like 8 9 hours, and like I just do that. And some days I like, if I don't have work, I just end up sleeping like 10 hours too. Like it's, unless it gets like too, yeah, sometimes it just happens, especially like if I had like a few days where I pulled a few all nighters or near all nighters. So sleep I think has always been fine. It's quite dynamic for me. Like I'll just naturally catch up even if I'm like running low. But then like friends, food, nutrition, and like everything else, I think you just need to know what works for you. And for me, like I've worked out that I'll be meeting my friends like every day, but like it may be in a low maintenance context, it may just be in like a work context, it may just be in meals context, but I know that like for the friends that I have, I think that works for them too. So I'm happy, and like with the relationships I have built so far. And then work wise, I know that sometimes I may have to like tone down a few of the other factors, but I'll be able to like take a hit as long as I'm able to catch up soon. But I know that I won't be able to sustain like a lifestyle where I've constantly taking hits into my social life and my sleep, because that will definitely take a toll on me, and I feel very burnt out. And I have done that. That has happened. Like you need to make those mistakes where you kind of like push yourself a bit too much and realize that, okay, fuck, my limit was like 3 4 days of all nighters ago. Like I've done way too much, and like I now need the summer break to just like fully detox or like
Recharge.
sleep and rejuvenate, and like just like hang out with friends and stuff like that, not touch any work. So that's happened to me like in my like second and third semesters, like right before the summer. So like I kind of know now like what works for me, and I know when I might be pushing myself a bit too much, and I kind of try and stop myself there if I can. If sometimes I would have procrastinated deadlines that I won't be able to like kind of limit myself from pushing myself too far, but it is what it is. I think the most important part is like knowing your limits, knowing what works for you, and then knowing how much like the limits will help you know how far you can push stuff from your normal state and your normal routine before it gets too unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. So there's a tradition. There's another podcast called Diary of a CEO. It's run by Stephen Bartlett. Uh, Pretty chill guy.
Yeah.
And there's a tradition on his podcast that I've stolen shamelessly. So the last guest leaves a question for the next one.
It's interesting. And I have no information about the next
No, you will. So it was supposed to be Somil, but I forgot about the tradition.
Okay.
So I don't think Somil wrote a question.
Oh wow.
It's like, oh wow, okay. So
Classic song.
someone else wrote a question. No, I forgot to tell him
Okay.
that he has to write one
Oh,
as well.
okay.
So the tradition is the last guest, Kushal,
Yeah.
actually, he left a question for the next guest. Obviously, he didn't know that it's going to be you, right?
Yeah.
So it's in the diary right there.
Oh.
So just open it up, actually. I don't know what the question is either, actually.
I have to like wait and see.
You just keep on going and wait, you just keep on going another page. Is that the last question?
Yeah.
Okay, huh. Just read it out.
If
मुझे
you
भी नहीं पता.
If you were to die tomorrow, what would you do right after this podcast episode / recording ends? Now,
Then philosophy.
damn. Now dare to do that in brackets. That's a hard one, man.
We were talking a lot about like really philosophical things,
Yeah.
which I suppose influenced the question with.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Nice question, Kushal.
Thank you actually, for now I need to think hard about what I hold dear in my life. That's crazy. Might get existential. But like, what sort of do I have to answer this now?
I mean, if you want, yeah,
Yeah,
that's how
That's the structure. That's the
questions. Yeah, that's how podcasts work.
format. Okay, cool. And then after I answer, I have to write down a question. For
Yeah,
future
yeah.
guests.
I mean, if you don't want to answer, of course, that's totally cool. But
Yeah, I do not want to answer this because it's way too personal.
okay.
No, I think it's fine. I think it's a solid question, but like my life is like just starting. Like I still feel like very young. Like I just have like my family, some friends that I care about, and I would just like spend time with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like what would I do right after this podcast? Like my family lives in Bangkok right now, so like I probably can't.
Oh.
Yeah, so like reaching them might be difficult, so I'll probably just like call them and you know talk about, probably not reveal that I'm dying, but like just like have a chill like conversation, make fun of my mom, like make fun of my sister,
Huh.
make sure that everything is like fun and like captures the normal family experience that I would look back on. And then I'll go spend time with my friends at Ashoka and call my friends back home and do similar things. And yeah, I'd probably not tell anyone that I'm dying if I'm dying tomorrow, because like then that would muddy the final experiences.
I
And then,
suppose so.
yeah, what else would I do outside relationships? Because like at the end of the day, like what else matters? Like that I don't care. I would not do my thesis today. Like I was gonna go work on my thesis right now. I probably won't do that, knowing that I'm dying tomorrow. Um, yeah. Do you know what you would do?
Not really. I mean, I honestly don't know. Just help people with their, not what, just help people in general.
Yeah.
That seems.
And one day you would go and help as many people as you can.
Dude, just buying someone a free meal, stuff like that. Not even telling them that you bought them, just paying for their meal. Going to a shopping center, paying for their groceries, like stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, if there's one thing you could change about Ashoka, what would be? Oh, that's a good one. Do you want to answer that first?
Me?
Yeah, as a first year
Okay.
who hasn't had much experience at Ashoka, what would you change?
Okay, maybe this is not exclusive to Ashoka, but maybe it's exclusive to young people in general. I find it much easier to be around older people.
I see.
In the sense,
Like
they...
old, or as in like me?
No,
like,
just...
a few years older than you.
No, so
Okay.
obviously there's a huge difference between when you're 18 and 22.
Yeah.
Especially with guys I've seen,
Mhm.
we go through a huge mental transformation.
We take some time.
Yeah.
To our female counterparts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, उनका तो semester में ही साल जितना हो
Yeah.
जाता है. We take so much time.
Yeah.
But of course, seniors, I just find it to be more comfortable. But people like who are usually 26, 25 to I'd say 40 is my range. Where 18 to 22, I find it rather difficult to mesh in with them because I feel like I've been through a lot of the things that they've already been they're going through right now in
Right.
real time.
Right.
So it's a bit hard for me to relate to them or just watch the same fucking shit unfold. But uh, Ashoka is pretty much a utopia. I mean, I can't really complain much.
Yeah.
I really like this place.
That's good.
What about you?
Yeah, even I am quite fond of Ashoka, despite like I don't know. Most people in my batch for some reason do not like Ashoka. Like you guys seem to be fine. Like you guys seem to be
My
happy
batch?
with Ashoka. Yeah, like the
I have no
junior
idea
batch.
about my batch, honestly.
Really? Okay. But like I seem to get the impression that like the older you get, the more cynical and the more like I mean
Yeah, that's what Somal said as well.
yeah.
Vishal gave me the opposite
Really?
impression.
You get like you start liking Ashoka more the more time you spend in it.
Yeah, so he got really emotional when he was talking about leaving Ashoka.
Yeah.
He was still finding it hard to comprehend the fact that in just a couple of, like, back in 6 weeks, all of this would be over on this college journey. Even Somil, he talked about how he fears being lonely after Ashoka in Washington, like thousands of kilometers away.
Yeah.
Because here you're constantly bumping into people, right? So this is not going to happen outside. As I'm sure you would have seen in your first summer break. So off campus summer break. So third semester onwards.
It's like a rehab period. Like you're constantly bombarded with like interaction, especially because in my first semester, like everyone's trying to like make friends and like everyone's trying to expedite that process too because like we were deprived of 1 year in on physical college. So like it was I think normal first semesters but on steroids, like friend groups forming and breaking over the course of like weeks and things like that. And like yeah, it definitely felt like proper detox or like a rehab. Like you could kind of feel like withdrawal symptoms kicking in sometimes from like not having enough interactions. You're like constantly checking your phone for like some sort of like dopamine hit from like social activity, things like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Holy shit.
That happens.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really use social media that much, so yeah, I should just avoid the hit that I get. But question for the next guest. You don't tell me, because that'll be a surprise for me as well.
All right. And can I assume that this next guest is also from Ashoka?
Yeah.
Okay.